I'm Jack, 28, living in a cramped Detroit apartment. Life was finally looking up. I just landed my dream job at a top-tier tech company. I was on cloud 9, thinking everything was falling into place. Then, out of the blue, I get this call that turns my world upside down. "Jack, it's about your parents." My aunt's voice trembles on the other end. "They're both really sick. It's bad." Everything stops. I rush to their house, and it's a nightmare. Mom can barely lift a glass of water, and Dad's struggling just to make it to the bathroom. As I stand there, it hits me. I have to step up. But what about my job? My future? I call my brother, Henry, thinking surely he'll step in. "Hey, Henry, it's Jack. Have you heard about Mom and Dad?" "Yeah, tough break," he says, sounding distracted. "I've got a meeting in 5. Can we talk later?" "Henry, they need round-the-clock care. I'm thinking of taking a leave from work." "Whoa, slow down there, hero," he cuts in. "I've got my own family to deal with. I'm swamped here in LA." I'm floored. "So, that's it? You're not going to help at all?" "Look, I'm sure you've got it covered. Gotta run." And just like that, he's gone, leaving me staring at my phone, feeling sucker punched. As I settle into this new role as a caregiver, memories of growing up hit me hard. Mom and Dad worked their fingers to the bone just to keep us afloat. Dad pulled double shifts to buy us school supplies, while Mom patched up old clothes to make them last another year. Henry was always Henry. I remember one Christmas when I was about 10. Our parents had managed to get us each one decent gift. I got a science kit I'd been dreaming of, and Henry got the latest video game console. You'd think he'd be thrilled, but no. "This isn't even the Pro version," he whined. Jimmy's parents got him the Pro. I can still see the hurt in Mom's eyes. Dad just sighed and said, "Maybe next year, son." Now, as I watch my parents struggle with even the simplest tasks, those memories sting even more. I'm putting my entire life on hold, while Henry's living it up in LA. "Jack, sweetie," Mom calls weakly from her bedroom. "Can you help me with my pills?" "Coming, Mom," I holler back, shoving thoughts of Henry aside. I have more important things to focus on. My parents need me, and I'll be damned if I let them down like Henry has. As I help Mom with her medication, I wonder, how did I end up as the sole caregiver while Henry gets to live his best life? But then I see Mom's grateful smile, and I know I'm doing the right thing. It's going to be tough, but I'm in this for the long haul. Henry may have forgotten what family means, but I sure as hell haven't. 2 years in, my life's become a never-ending loop of doctor visits and pill organizers. I'm working part-time at Joe's corner store just to keep the lights on. My savings? Gone. That promising career? Feels like a distant dream now. "Jack, your shift starts in 20, Joe calls out as I rush in, still in yesterday's wrinkled clothes. "Sorry, Joe. Dad had a rough night. I'll be ready in 5. I'm stocking shelves when my phone buzzes. Another reminder to call Henry. I've lost count of how many times I've reached out, begging for help. "Henry, it's Jack. Look, I know you're busy, but—" "Jack, now's not a good time," he interrupts. "We're renovating the kitchen. You wouldn't believe how much custom cabinetry costs these days." I bite my tongue. "Mom and Dad have been asking about you. Maybe you could visit, or at least give them a quick call." "Sorry, bro. Big deal coming up at work. I gotta focus. Maybe next month." Click. It's always next month, always an excuse. Later that night, as I'm helping Dad to bed, my phone pings with a social media notification. I usually ignore these, but something catches my eye. It's Henry, on a yacht. I start scrolling, and my blood boils. There he is in Paris, skiing in Aspen, showing off his new sports car, all posted in the last few months. "Big deal at work," My ass, I mutter under my breath. Everything okay, son? Dad asks, noticing my scowl. Yeah, Dad. Just work stuff. Don't worry about it. But I can't let it go. The next day, during my lunch break, I call Henry. No more Mr. Nice Guy. You lied to me, I snap as soon as he answers. Whoa, what's your problem? He responds, unfazed. Cut the crap, Henry. I saw your posts. Paris, yachts, luxury cars. Meanwhile, I'm here, working my ass off, watching our parents deteriorate day by day. There's a pause, then a chuckle. Oh, that. Come on, Jack, you know how social media is. It's all for show. For show? Are you kidding me? I'm drowning here, Henry. I've asked for your help countless times, and you always have an excuse. Meanwhile, you're living it up like some big shot. Look, he says, his voice turning cold. I've worked hard for what I have. It's not my fault you chose to play the martyr. Martyr? They're our parents, Henry. And I'm sure they're very grateful, he says, his tone dripping with sarcasm. In fact, I bet that's why you're doing all this, isn't it? Trying to secure your place in the will. I'm stunned, speechless. How dare he? That's what I thought, he continues. Listen, I've got a real job to get back to. Some of us have actual responsibilities. The line goes dead. I stand there, phone in hand, shaking with rage. How did my brother become such a heartless bastard? Jack, your break ended 10 minutes ago. Joe calls from the back. I take a deep breath, trying to compose myself. Sorry, Joe. I'm coming. As I head back to work, I can't shake the anger, the hurt. But mostly, I feel a deep, gnawing disappointment. The brother I once looked up to is gone, replaced by someone I barely recognize. I'm left wondering how much more I can take before I break. Another year crawls by, and I watch helplessly as Mom and Dad slip away. Dad's the worst off, confined to his bed, his once strong voice now barely a whisper. Jack, he calls out one evening, his breath labored. We need to talk. I leaned in close, holding his frail hand. What is it, Dad? Your mother and we've made a decision about the house and our savings. My heart skips a beat. I've never cared about their money, but after everything. What do you mean? We're leaving it all to Henry, he says, eyes searching mine for understanding. The room spins. But Dad, I don't understand. We worry about Henry. Mom chimes in from her chair, her voice weak but firm. You've always been the responsible one, Jack. You'll be okay. But Henry, he needs this safety net. I want to scream, to tell them about Henry's lies, his lavish lifestyle. But looking at Dad's sunken face, the words die in my throat. I understand. I manage to choke out. Dad squeezes my hand weakly, smiling. You're a good son, Jack. Weeks later, Dad's gone. I throw myself into caring for Mom, pushing down the hurt and betrayal. But she fades fast, following Dad just months later. The day of Mom's funeral arrives, and I'm standing by her grave, emotionally and physically drained, when I hear a familiar voice. Well, if it isn't the prodigal son. I turn to see Henry, looking completely out of place in his designer suit. You actually showed up, I say, too tired to hide my bitterness. Had to make sure everything was in order, he replies, glancing around. Speaking of which, the house is a mess. Didn't you take care of anything while you were playing nurse? I clench my fists, anger rising. I was a little busy keeping our parents alive, Henry. He shrugs. Well, no need to worry about that anymore. I'm selling the place. I already have a few interested buyers. Selling? But Henry, that's our childhood home. It's all we have left of them. Correction, he says coldly. It's all I have left of them. Or did you forget about the will? The casual cruelty in his voice stuns me. So that's it. You're just going to erase everything. Our memories, our history. Oh, spare me the sentimental crap, Henry scoffs. It's just a house. And frankly, I could use the cash. My portfolio took a hit last quarter. I stare at him, this stranger wearing my brother's face. What happened to you, Henry? When did you become this? He straightens his tie, looking annoyed. I grew up, Jack. Maybe you should try it sometime. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a flight to catch. I expect the house cleared out by the end of the month. As he turns to leave, I call out, desperation seeping into my voice. They loved you, you know. Right until the end, they worried about you. For a moment, he pauses. I think I see a flicker of something, regret, shame, but then it's gone, replaced by his usual smirk. Lucky me, he says, not bothering to look back as he walks away. I'm left standing there, surrounded by fresh graves and wilting flowers, feeling utterly lost. 3 years of my life, countless sacrifices, all for this. No job, no savings, and now, no home. As the reality of my situation sinks in, a mix of emotions I've never felt before hits me. A cocktail of grief, rage, and a burning desire for justice. Or maybe something darker. Revenge. One thing's for sure, I'm done being the good son. It's time Henry learns that actions have consequences. And I'll be damned if I let him walk away from this unscathed. So, there I am, mid-30s, no job, no home, crashing on my buddy Dave's couch. Every morning, I'm firing off job applications like my life depends on it. Because, well, it kind of does. Any luck? Dave asks one morning, finding me hunched over my laptop. Not yet, but I'm not giving up, I reply, hitting send on another application. Then, out of the blue, my phone rings. It's Sarah, an old colleague from my engineering days. Jack, I saw your application. We have an entry-level position at my startup. It's not much, but I'll take it, I interrupt, not even caring about the details. From day one, I throw myself into the work. Late nights, early mornings, whatever it takes. My experiences caring for mom and dad gave me a unique perspective on problem solving. And before I know it, I'm climbing the ranks. But then, one day, everything changes. I'm in a meeting when my phone starts blowing up with notifications. There's Henry's face plastered all over the news. Prominent businessmen involved in major fraud scheme, the headlines scream. Before I can process it, there's a knock at the office door. 2 stern-faced individuals in suits introduce themselves as federal agents. Mr. Johnson, we need to ask you some questions about your brother Henry. For a split second, I consider covering for him. He's still my brother after all. But then I remember everything. The lies, the neglect, the betrayal. What do you want to know? I ask, my voice steady. I tell them everything. Henry's neglect of our parents, his lies about his financial situation, his lavish spending while I struggled. It feels like a weight lifting off my chest. Weeks later, I watch on TV as Henry is led away in handcuffs, charged with multiple counts of fraud. His assets are frozen, his reputation in tatters. I hear through the grapevine that his wife's left him, taking the kids. Just when I think it's all over, I get a call from Mrs. Rodriguez, our old neighbor. Jack, your mother, she left something for you, a safety deposit box. She changed her will at the last minute. Inside the box, I find a letter and Mom's old locket, the one she always said was just worthless costume jewelry. My dear Jack, the letter reads, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I know we hurt you by leaving everything to Henry, but I couldn't let you walk away empty-handed. This locket, it's been in our family for generations. It's worth more than you know. Use it wisely, and know that we always saw your sacrifice. We love you. Fast forward a few months, and I'm standing on a stage at a charity gala. My company's latest project, an ad-driven elderly care system, is being unveiled. This technology, I say into the microphone, is dedicated to every child who's ever cared for a parent, to every family struggling to provide dignity in their loved one's final years. As I scan the audience, my eyes land on a familiar face. Henry, out on bail, looking like he's aged a decade. Our eyes meet for a moment, but I don't linger. Instead, I turn back to the audience, to the future I'm building with integrity, innovation, and compassion. The applause washes over me as I step off the stage. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Henry, the betrayal, the struggles, they are all part of my past now. And me? I'm focused on the bright future ahead. Sometimes, justice has a way of serving itself. Now, I've got a question for you. If you were in Jack's shoes, would you have told the authorities everything about Henry's past behavior, or would you have protected your brother despite his betrayal? Think about it. Family loyalty versus doing what's right. Where do you draw the line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.